Good day, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we'll be going over Isaiah chapter 14. People, when I tell you the KJV and the Tanakh totally screws us on the entire perception of this chapter, believe me, Mr. Truth Seeker, Mr. Spice, when you read Isaiah chapter 14 in the Septuagint, what do you perceive? I perceive Lucifer is the king of Babylon, and at one time gave orders to the entire earth. Within these orders, he told the entity Babylon to refuse to release us from bondage in the 1960s. I also perceive Yah's monster army are exactly who my series of videos said they were. Kings of the earth during the days of Noah that were taken to the netherworld during the flood. I went over each fallen high holy one and how they were going to die upon the earth. People, no, Satan, Lucifer, the devil, the serpent, or the Leviathans are not the same. I will put a couple of links in the description box. Saying that, let me put my money where my mouth is. We're going to start at verse 3. Quote, "And it shall come to pass in that day, that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and vexation, and from thy hard servitude wherein thou didst serve against the king of Babylon." Stop. We know this is not talking about our ancestors staying in Babylon, because they were not required to serve the Babylonians, nor were they vexed. Wait a minute. Neither are we now. But let's keep reading. Quote, "How has the extortioner ceased, and taskmaster ceased?" Stop. What? So it wouldn't be robbery or fraud to say Lucifer should be called Don Lucy, just like a wise guy mobster. We are being extorted, people. Let's keep going. Quote, "The Lord has broken the yoke of sinners," with an S, "the yoke of prince," with an S, "having smitten a nation," us, "in wrath." I told you, if you're not hated, you're doomed. "With an incurable plague, smiting a nation with a wrathful plague, which spared them not. He rested in quiet. All the earth cries aloud with joy. The trees also of Lebanon rejoice against thee. The cedars and the cedars of Lebanon saying, from the time that thou hast been laid low, no one has come up to cut us down. Hail from beneath is provoked to meet thee." Listen up. "All the great ones that have ruled over the earth have risen up together against thee. They that have raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nation. All shall answer and say to thee, Thou also hast been taken, even as we, and thou art numbered amongst us." Stop. Notice, all of these kings know exactly who he is, and his power too. Surely they have to be ancient. We know this is not talking about mankind on this side of the flood. How? What mere mortal can compare themselves to a high holy one except the giant kings that ruled the earth during Noah's time? I bet you they white as snow with warts all over them by now. But let's continue. Quote, "Thy glory has come down to Hades, and thy great mirth. Under thee they shall spread corruption, and the worm shall be thy covering." Stop. According to the Merriam Dictionary definition of mirth, quote, "Gladness or gaiety as shown by or accompanied with laughter." So Don Lucy is a jolly fellow, and not the menacing figure pop culture and white Jesus freaks like Tony Stark lead us to believe. Makes sense because everybody wants to be liked. And the most likable word in the human language is yes. But let's continue. Quote, "How has Lucifer that rose in the morning fallen from heaven? He that sent orders to all the nations is crushed to the earth. But thou saidst in thine heart, I will go up to heaven. I will set my throne above the stars of heaven. I will sit on a lofty mount, on the lofty mountains towards the north. I will go up above the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Stop. Am I the only person to realize he is not talking about challenging Yah's kingdom of heaven? How can you set your throne above the stars of heaven and sit on a lofty mount too? No, he is talking about where the morning stars and the sons of God hang out, which is below Yah's kingdom. When he said go up above the clouds of heaven, he was talking about the cloud order of angels that will bring the bloody lamb to Yah in the book of Daniel, and the living vehicle Yah is digging the scene in an awesome lean-in. Not above Yah. But check out how Yah busts his whole head open. Quote, "But now thou shalt go down to hell, even to the foundations of the earth. They that see thee shall wonder at thee, and say, This is the man that troubled the earth, that made kings to shake, that made the whole world desolate, and destroyed its cities. He loosened not those who were in captivity." Stop! What? Who on earth is in captivity today? Except us. But let's keep going. "All the kings of the nations lie in honor, every man in his house. But thou shalt be cast forth on the mountains as a loath carcass, with many dead who have been pierced with the sword, going down to the grave. As a garment defiled with blood shall not be pure, so neither shalt thou be pure, because thou hast destroyed my land, Israelis trodden down, Jerusalem, and hast slain my people, us in captivity. Thou shalt not endure forever." Listen up. "Thou an evil seed." Stop! This tells us Don Lucy, ancient, his spirit princes with an S, and seed are desecrating the land of Jerusalem and are also over the land Yah's people are being abused in. How do I know this about his seed? Let's keep reading. Quote, "Prepare thy children to be slain for the sins of their father, that they arise not, and inherit the earth, nor fill the earth with wars. And I will destroy their name, and remnant, and seed. Thus says Yah." Stop! I got a question. Who can this be now? Da-na-na-na-na. Who can this be now? But let's keep going. "And I will make the region of Babylon desert, so that hedgehogs shall dwell there, and it shall come to nothing, and I will make it a pit of clay for destruction." Stop. Now things switch to the punishment of those who Yah used to take Don Lucy's family down. Quote, "Thus says Yah of hosts, as I have said, so it shall be. And as I have proposed so, the matter shall remain." I love it when Yah talks like that. Like a man should. You guys are so freaking feminized, it makes my stomach turn to read your whimsical comments. I ask my boy almost daily if he thinks I'm going to hell for laughing at you cats so much. This verse should also put to rest any attempt white Jesus freaks like Lisa Allen L. try to change the prophecies or the law. But let's continue. Quote, "Even to destroy the Assyrians upon my land and upon my mountains, and they shall be for trampling, and their yoke shall be taken away from them, and their glory shall be taken away from their shoulders." Stop! As the scriptures attest, the Assyrian will rule the earth with fear and trembling for a short time. But let's continue. Quote, "This is the purpose which the Lord has proposed upon the whole earth, and this the hand that is uplifted against the nations. For what the holy God has proposed, who shall frustrate? And who shall turn back his uplifted hand? Sure can't be white Jesus. In the year in which King Ahaz died, this word came. Rejoice not, all ye Philistines, because of the yoke of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the seed of the serpent shall come forth the young asp, with an S, and their young shall come forth flying serpents, with an S, and the poor, us, shall be fed by him, Yah, and the poor men, us, shall rest in peace. But he, the flying serpents, shall destroy thy seed with hunger, and shall destroy thy remnant. Stop! Remember, the purpose of the monster army is to rid the world of all the evildoers, only to leave a remnant of mankind left. I think one of the scriptures we will read in another video said a city will be like an olive tree after it has been gleaned. That is not a lot of righteous people. But let's finish this out, shall we? Quote, howl, ye gates of cities. Let the cities be troubled and cry, even all the Philistines. For smoke is coming from the north, and there is no possibility of living. And what shall the kings of the nations answer? That Yah has founded Zion, and by him the poor of the people shall be saved. Example. Okay, let's go over what we know thus far. We know Don Lucy was the man at one time, and has children, who has had children, who has had children, who has had children, and all of their seeds are walking amongst us as tares on earth. We know Don Lucy will not be buried with the rest of the fallen ones and Nephilim, because his crimes were too egregious. And we also know all of his children will be slain. Okay, I have a theory I want you to vet for me. I think the Israelis are Meshesh and Tubal. Rosh is their spiritual prince, while spiritual king Gog controls the people and lands of the other northern territories. This is the reason why books like the 13th tribe can trace the Israelis' origins back to the kingdom of Khazar. This is the reason why in Ezekiel 38 and 39, the peoples and lands of Meshesh and Tubal have their own prince named Rosh, and are not mentioned physically being with the others in the northern kingdoms. Who is this Rosh I keep talking about, you ask? He is the name the KJV and the Tanakh omitted from its interpretation in regards to the prophecies of God. Ezekiel 38, 1 through 2. Quote, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, that's 1, and the land of Magog, that's 2, with a comma. Rosh, 3, with a comma, prince of Meshesh and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Stop. Am I the only person to notice there are 3 different sets of things Yah has set his face against? Gog, the land of Magog, and Rosh, the prince of Meshesh and Tubal. If you don't believe me, when we continue to read, we see Rosh takes on a personal name. Quote, behold, I am against thee, Rosh, prince of Meshesh and Tubal. Example, it is clear Rosh is a proper name and is the prince of Meshesh and Tubal. This passage also proves Rosh cannot be a title or equivalent. Why? Because it would mean Yah is describing a title, Rosh, with a title, prince of the Meshesh and Tubal. Now, we already have proven through the scriptures, the high holy ones have children, and they will be taken away captive and never to be heard of again. That's Isaiah 24. We know through scriptures, Don Lucy's children will eventually be slaughtered. We know through Zechariah 14 The Israelis are going to be taken captive with no mention throughout the entire scripture of their return from captivity like the rest of the nations, Egypt, Elam, etc. We know the Israelis are the force behind just about, well, let me read a quote about this matter and you tell me if it rings true. Quote, "Was there any shady undertaking, any form of foulness, especially in cultural life, in which at least one Jew did not participate? Was there any excrement, any shamelessness in any form, above all in cultural life, in which at least one Jew would not have been involved?" Quote. Okay, hopefully that has established things of who these Israelis are, or their lot in our lives right now. But I know most of you are not convinced yet, and I bore you with my insolence. If this is you, allow me to ask you a question that even you will say, "Damn," at the answer. You ready? Did you know Meshesh and Tubal are the only people on earth that will be buried in a totally different fashion than everyone else? In that distinction, did you know Meshesh and Tubal will not be buried with the rest of the poor Slavs of the other nations? Can you guess why? Context. Yah is dishing out the living arrangements for the different nations in the pit of destruction. He has talked about Esher, Elam, and Egypt thus far, each of them with similar placements around their angelic host, until you come to Meshesh and Tubal. You ready for this? Ezekiel 32, 26 through 28. Quote, "They were laid, Meshesh and Tubal, and all his strength around about his tomb." It's talking about Rush. "And his slain men, all the uncircumcised, slain with the sword, who caused their fear to be in the land of the living." Listen up. "And they are laid with the giants that fell of old, who went down to Hades with their weapons of war. And they laid their swords under their heads, but their iniquities were upon their bones, because they terrified all men during their lifetime. And thou shalt lie in the midst of the uncircumcised, with them that have been slain by the sword." Example. Damn! That's right. Meshesh and Tubal will be buried with those who will not rise, nor have the capacity of redemption. No need for a judgment day for them. They will lie with those who, just like them, terrified all men during their lives. Again, I ask you, gentle friends, who can it be now? Do-do-do-do-do. Who can it be now? Oh, da-na-na-na. Who can it? Who can it?